This is the Voice Coach podcast for all the tips and tricks on getting the most out of your speaking voice. I'm Nick Redman, and I'll be sharing everything you need to know to keep your voice healthy, sounding great, and working the way it should. If you're an actor, voiceover, speaker, presenter, or podcaster, you're in the right place. Hopefully it'll be a wee bit of crack too. Let's get started. Well, don't you look lovely? You must be enjoying the birthday celebrations as much as I am. Someone told me I looked tanned today. That's as much a birthday present as I need. As a pale Irish person, it is the start of birthday week too. And yes, I am drawing this birthday out as long as I can. You only turn one in podcast land once. So I just thought I'd go all out. And this week I've got a lovely interview with someone whose work I have admired from the minute I was introduced to it when I was training at Royal Central School of Speech and Drama back in the day. This lady came in to do some sessions with us and I can't even tell you. She's wonderful. You'll know her name if you're a listener to the podcast regularly because I talk about her all the fucking time. It's Barbara Houseman. I managed to snaffle some of Barbara's very valuable time to have a fabulous chat. But before I get into that now, just a quick shout out if you took part in the New Year, New Voice week with me last week in the Voice and Accent Hub. It was wonderful. We had so much fun. Thank you, for trusting me with your voice as ever and joining in and supporting others and having a real play with those voices and the sounds. It was wonderful, and lots of people got loads of stuff out of it and really were able to check in on what their voice needs and connect with it for the year moving forwards. With that in mind, remember you can still join me for my next course, the Vocal Empowerment Program. Every time I say that, I feel like I need to do a fist grab, like an 80s fist grab. The Vocal Empowerment Program. Become your own voice coach. It's on sale now. Serious, Nick, come on. And it's basically everything you need to give you autonomy over your voice prep and maintenance and technique and your vocal health. So I'll basically be throwing as many exercises and vocal explorations and information at you as I possibly can over the space of 6 weeks online in 2 live sessions a week and in the Facebook group and lots of other extra exciting things, so that you can feel fully equipped to look after your vocal health, really, and warm yourself up for speaking and also troubleshoot any wee issues that come up day to day and just feel really confident in your vocal technique and how you can make sure it's there for you in whatever speaking you have to do. Right, back to Barbara. A potted intro. I could go on forever. Basically, Barbara's got a career as a voice, an acting coach and a theatre director, and it spans nearly 40 years. She's worked alongside a lot of the greats. Okay, probably all of the greats, like Sis Berry at the Royal Shakespeare Company and Tim Supple at the Young Vic. She's written 2 books, which you should definitely buy, Finding Your Voice and Tackling Text. And she's worked extensively as a voice and text coach in the West End. She's also season associate director at the Open Air Theatre in Regent's Park. Her client list is pretty exciting and a who's who of all the cool dudes. So you've got like Jane Asher, Kenneth Branagh, Jerry Hall, Lenny Henry, Nicholas Hoult, Patrick Keelty, Jude Law, Clive Owen, Daniel Radcliffe. I'll not go on. She has worked as a voiceover artist as well and coaches journalists who narrate their own documentaries, as well as coaching non-actors and individuals just wishing to improve their communication skills. And she's a fully qualified healing shiatsu practitioner, NLP master practitioner and certified clean language coach, which, newsflash, I didn't know what it was, but I do now. So anyway, we pick up the interview with me having asked Barbara what it is that leads her to the additional courses that she studies, which a lot of the time from the outside aren't directly voice related. It's a really lovely chat and I'm so delighted we were able to make it happen. I hope you enjoy it. There's some great warm-up tips, some insights into Barbara's practice and, well, predictably, some chat about breath.
The shiatsu was kind of related to the voice work because I was looking to do more body work and I was thinking of training as an Alexander teacher. And then a friend and actor who I had directed felt he was so present when we were doing the show because the way, I was already working in a way that he went off to try and find how he could be present in life, ended up doing the shiatsu training. I had a shiatsu with him and thought, well, that's amazing. So I started doing that and then realized I was entering on this whole journey of mindfulness that I hadn't intended to. So that's how that started. The NLP happened because I was teaching. I did corporate work. Almost full time for about 14 years. There was a time when I was doing very little theatre work, which was actually when I was able to write the books because I had the time.
The dollar for the corporate.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I was also living in France, so I was commuting between London and France. So, yeah, lots of things going on. And I was working with somebody who'd done NLP training, and I was very interested in the way he was using it. I know it can often be abused. It sometimes has a bad name. So I went and trained in that, and I trained with some of the people like Robert Dilts and some of the other people who they weren't the two founders, but they were really way, way back at the start of it. That was because I just was interested and wanted more. And then out of that, because I missed the language module, I found clean language and I went, oh, this is good. Yeah. So those all came out of work. The other thing, the mindfulness training I did recently, the MBCT, was really because I realized, because of 30 years of practicing mindfulness, that I was kind of teaching it in my work and I didn't have a professional teaching qualification. And, I know people just go away and do weekends and then become mindfulness teachers. And, I have a big problem with that because I've done 30 years of practice. I'm still not very good at it, but at least I kind of understand, and the pitfalls and, where you have to be careful with where people are going. So that's why I trained in that. And also, it's also usually because it'll be good for me, because I had a mentally ill mother and really badly ill and postnatal depression. And she was in a mental hospital for 9 months when I was 6 months old. It had left me with a lot of issues. I mean, I don't know. It's difficult because I get depressed, but I don't think I don't suffer from chemical depression. It's really what they're now calling complex post-traumatic stress disorder, when you've had a long period of exposure to something as a child that really wasn't child copable with. It's difficult for me often to speak about this because I think, well, I'm white and a middle class and my parents loved me and I was never starving or hit, but I was my mother's carer. She really didn't cope. So I think a lot of this work has been about me trying to heal me. And obviously, when something does help you, you have a kind of authenticity to share it with others, which is why I always say to voice coaches, teach the stuff that's helped you. Don't teach an exercise because I say it does this, because it might not do this for you. Teach what it does for you, because then you teach with authenticity. So I think all of the work has come out of, I do love learning as well and love growing. And it's all been quite synchronistic. I was thinking for years, I want to do a mindfulness course. I don't know what, and I knew about the one in Oxford, but I thought it was an MA and I was like, I don't want to study. And then literally I was sitting next to Mark Williams. Kenneth Branagh brought Mark Williams in to do some mindfulness work on a play that I was working on, and I didn't get to do the session, but I bought the book and I had a look at that, and then I was sitting next to him in a dress rehearsal and I really liked him, and I thought, I'm going to look at this course. And actually by the time I looked at it and went, he'd left, but that was why I did that particular training. And I found the foundation course, which was teach training, but you didn't have to do anything academic and there were no essays, so it was like the MA without the qualification. Got too many two books, so that everything else was practical. So, that was why. And then I did a Calling in the One training, which is supposedly about calling in your partner, but really about calling in yourself. And that was because I'd done a free thing on alternatives and thought, this woman really, this is better than therapy. And I've used it so much with people. And now I'm doing a breath of love training, which is sort of therapeutic breath, mindfulness work, sort of. And that came off watching a breath summit in lockdown, and I was really impressed by her, and she gave some free meditations and I thought they were really good. So it's all tended to be quite eclectic.
The amount of access to training over lockdown has been one of the benefits. I have to say, side effects is that when I've found myself being able to do courses in America or somewhere else in the UK that I wouldn't have been able to get to ordinarily, which has been a nice, gentle, kind of happy benefit from my point of view. Yeah, breathwork training is really hot right now. It's everywhere.
Well, it's been, yes. It has been. I think it has been for a long time. I think it is very interesting with therapeutic breathwork. And obviously it forms quite a good partnership with our breathwork, which is therapeutic anyway. But yeah.
Yeah. What sort of, I'm seeing interesting themes in some of the clients I'm getting at the moment, one-to-one, after COVID and lockdown and all that kind of thing, in terms of voices not being what they were, or tension, all that kind of thing, some confidence issues, that kind of stuff. Are you seeing any sort of lockdown influenced themes in your clients at the moment?
I suppose the main thing is people just not being match ready. That's what's happening. In the shows I was working on. People are like, whoa, I haven't done this for a year.
How do I get on stage again?
So, having to, but then, persuading people, well, then you have to do your warm up every day, don't you? You have to, and the whole thing about warm ups, is an issue, because I think the important thing that at a conference, I went, voice conference, one of the ENTs was saying, voice muscles are not like running muscles. It's not the same kind of warm up. And I think that's quite important, that a few moments actually warms it all up. What you're mainly doing in a warm up or workout is nudging the body to work the way the body was designed to work, to produce healthy voice.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's more of a building of habits than a warm up as such. So, I really feel I wish there was a better word than warm up or workout, because I feel there needs to be really, it's habit builder.
Yeah, that's such a lovely reframe of what a warm up is. It's reminding your body to work in the most efficient way for the job at hand.
I mean, a lot of it, more and more and more. Nicola Harrison, very interesting singing teacher, who's done a whole lot of actual research on images. She has a whole little book. I mean, that might be, she's doing course online, so it might be one to look at. She has a whole book of images, and it's Embodima, EMBODIMA. And she's had research, so where they put, little neurotransmitters or whatever, I don't know, where you hook people up.
Yeah.
And then people will think of the image and look at whether the muscles she thinks are going to move are moved by that.
Oh, gosh, that sounds exciting.
Exactly. And she's got some really interesting ones, like, a conga eel, which you keep your hand very hard with the body and you just move it like that. And it's really good for engaging the support muscles.
Oh, wow.
And her point is that 90% of the voice muscles are not under conscious control.
Yes.
So what we have to look at here is, so how do we activate muscles appropriately if most of them aren't muscles we can go, move?
Like use.
Yeah, do it. So, so for me, the combination of the images and the idea that I think that Dane talks about, that Janice Chapman, singing coach, talks about, and Ken Bozeman, an acoustician, talks about, is using affect, emotional affect, that when we sob and laugh, our throat opens, the deconstrict. Toddler wine, Ken Bozeman talks about, toddler wine gives you good fold closure that gets you a good set of harmonics that then you can resonate. So, just, going, wee, 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 but mom,
I've been doing that this week.
Yeah. So, that actually, because, so you're using an emotional way, or calling tends, if you call, you have to look at how people are calling, but if people call well and freely, you start to engage the support muscles and not here. So it's looking with people at, how can I use an emotional attitude, if you like, or mood to get the behavior in the body I want? And once I've triggered it, and I keep working that till it becomes habitual.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot and trying to encourage my clients at the moment to think less about what they sound like and more about what they feel when they're speaking, because so much of work on microphones is, oh, what does that sound? And then the producer says, oh, you're a bit sibilant, or you sound a bit this, or whatever. And it's just the most destructive thing, because you start, monitoring yourself the whole time. So I've been trying to get people to reframe it and think more about sensation and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. You cannot listen to yourself. And it's not an accurate guideline, because something can sound good but not actually be produced well. Sometimes, so I can do something like this and it may sound fine, but actually I'm sitting down on my larynx a little bit. If I do that a lot, it's what Van Lawrence, who was an laryngologist, used to call his consulting room voice. And it was like, you can't actually stand up in public speak in that voice. And it's something, I was working with an actor who was playing Clinton, and Clinton could be quite creaky, quite southern and all that, but not when he was public speaking. He took it much more up, it was much brighter and higher. And, that was probably just instinctive. I don't know whether he'd had training, but, certain relaxed voices do not work well once you've got to speak for any kind of time or with any kind of energy, because then
I think this is what happens sometimes with my audiobook narrator clients who are doing hours and hours every day in that really intimate setting, a couple of inches from the microphone. And I think over time, even if you're someone with training, I'm talking about myself here, by the way, because this is what I'm experiencing right now and why I'm working with Barbara a little bit to sort my shit out. But I've just found I've disconnected with my support system. And I think sometimes audiobook narrators and voiceovers who are working loads come to me and they go,
I'm just tired. I'm getting really vocally tired very quickly. It's about like, there are ways of creating those intimate sounds that are still connected to the support in that kind of efficient mechanism.
I think the biggest thing is, it's a bit like you almost need more support for quiet singing than you do for loud. That there's a kind of, people can often go, more vocal energy, more body engagement, less vocal energy or volume, less body engagement. No.
Yeah.
You know, and what you're dealing with is that I need the same degree of, you know, that really, and that's why, you know, working with or and really feeling this engagement and going, okay, let me do it with a lot of energy. Now let me half the energy or half the volume, or get more intimate, but not lose the body engagement.
Yeah.
That's what you have to get to, that there's the same degree of body engagement, so that, you know, even if I want to speak very quietly, that what I don't go is go, okay, so now I'm just working here.
Yeah. It's all about here.
Box here, like, and it's like, no, I'm still working from here. By here, I mean the lower belly. Yeah.
It's all about the body. That was the 12 days of Tipsmas first tip. Remember, you have a body. Yeah, it's totally true. It's so easy, especially when you're on a microphone. Getting really focused from like even here out. You even forget you've got larynx sometimes.
And I mean, one thing I don't know, because you have much more experience doing voiceover than I do, but my sense is what I'd get the actors to do is really to imagine that all of this has moved down. So I think, you know, if the sense that whatever you want here is here and is just then coming up through a tube to the microphone. I know that sounds a bit weird, and I'm just noticing that Anna has said adding brr to my warm-up. What I'd suggest, Anna, for time is that you brr the voiceover. Yeah. Rather than brrring and then do the voiceover, that you literally brr the text.
Yeah, Anna's a really experienced audiobook narrator. So if you took like the first paragraph you've got to do for that day or something and just brr through it, or some other semi-occluded sound, that's a great way.
Yeah. And rather than doing the warm-up, because sometimes you do the warm-up and then it goes, lovely, and now we're doing the book. So we'll just go back to what we were doing before. So, you know, the brain is really good at siloing, and it's not very good at, you have to go, I want this behavior here, not just here.
You got to connect it.
Yeah.
You got to connect it. I remember the first time I ever did voice training, and we were doing some really random, obscure stuff that wasn't put in a context. And I was like, but I just want to be an actor. What's all this flopping around on the floor about? And I look back at that with, it's weird that tiny moment informs my practice today, like 20 odd years on, because I had no idea where my life was going really. But like context, I think, is what I took from that. You know, it's not about telling people the answer or end gaming or giving them what they're aiming for, but it's about making people understand why you're doing something in relation to how they're going to use their voice.
Yeah. Well, it's also because they have no power, and then therefore they're just going, oh, well, I hum on you. I don't really know why. I don't know why I'm doing that. You know, you need to be power. Okay, you know, if I want, what do I need to do? Well, I need to be released, but how quickly can I do that? I need to be connected. Well, if I do any semi-occluded sound, the fricatives, the I mean, I suppose, you know, you can also do water bubbling, but as Ron Morris says, then you have to carry the water around with you. And of course, when you're going to do bubbling, you have to make sure you're not doing that you have a bent straw and everything's in good. And by bubbling, just for anyone who doesn't know, I mean straw into water. The other thing I was going to say that I think is useful is tongue around the teeth regularly when you're doing a long bit, because it's a question of keeping engaged down here and keeping this free. Because I know my tongue, you know, I've had a lot going on at the moment, and things have been, you know, tightening up, and I'm like, yeah, okay, because you're not really, you have to, you need to really release and breathe and just loosen everything, you know.
Yeah.
Tongue around the teeth, and, you know, that deeply attractive.
Of course. Yeah. There's nothing I love more than looking really disgusting with my clients, especially now you see yourself back.
It's awful. Yes.
How have you found the flip to online coaching, actually?
All right, actually, much, as long as I just have to hide my picture or make it very small in the corner, because otherwise I'm horrified. I'm trying to not be horrified at this very moment. But otherwise, fine. And not groups so much, only small groups. If I've got a group that's bigger than I can see on one screen, then it's horrendous, basically horrendous, because I can't interact. I also feel in line with groups that people don't interact as freely because they're not sure whether they can, or they have to put their hand up or whatever. So you don't get that free flow that you get in a room. So that's a downside. One-to-one, I sometimes feel that when we're working on stuff that touches people emotionally and they get upset, that almost being in their own home and not physically present with you allows them to feel they can go there without feeling so exposed. So that's just something I felt, actually, this might, it's fine when we're face to face, but actually there may be an advantage. So I've been surprised. I think the frustration is sometimes when you just really need to be able to touch somebody.
Yes, I find the same with the being in your home environment. I feel actually I've had quite a few people come to me who've been on the periphery or, come to a workshop once, but not had the courage to come one-to-one. And I've had quite a few people who've felt they could because they're in their own environment, which is a positive to take from it, I suppose.
But also there's the access thing that you can be working with somebody anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, and so is all of that.
Yeah, really. Just got to learn about fucking time zones.
Oh, tell me. Yeah.
And then the bloody clocks change and then you're there, but they're not. And then it's an absolute nightmare. But, we work through it.
That has to be one of the most amazing things about the last 2 years. Access to training. I've done so many courses that I wouldn't have been able to do if real life had been progressing as it usually does. I've trained with people in the US and in different parts of the UK and at times that maybe wouldn't have suited if I had to literally get there. And of course, as a coach, I've been able to get all that learning out to you via the online courses that we've done over the last few years. The Ultimate Accent Toolkit and the Jaw Release course and the Breath course. It's fucking great. So if you're on the fence about online coaching, give it a go. It works for me both as a student and as a coach. And remember, registration is open for the Vocal Empowerment Programme, 80s Fist Grab. And you can book onto that until Wednesday, the 3rd of February, 2022. So come and play. Like I said, online learning is brilliant. It's just a great way of training with people that you might not get to train with otherwise. It's great for your voice. It's better for the environment. You're saving money on travel, which means more money for fancy tea bags for staying hydrated. So win-win. Link in the bio to join, and make sure you tune into the next episode of this interview to hear what Barbara suggests to nail that elusive conversational read. See you then. Thanks for listening to the Voice Coach podcast. To get the most out of your voice, come on over to our free community on Facebook, the Voice and Accent Hub. See you in there.